AI is making new Drake songs. Larry David maybe scammed you? And a rapper's lawyer assaults an officer in court. All this and more on today's episode of Pop Law. But first, the manslaughter charges against Alec Baldwin have been dropped. New evidence indicates that the prop gun was very likely modified before it got to him on set, so he may not have pulled the trigger on the prop gun. This evidence makes it very hard to prove criminal negligence or recklessness in an involuntary manslaughter case, so the DA dropped the charges. But what now? Special prosecutors released a statement last week saying, "This decision does not absolve Mr. Baldwin of criminal culpability and charges may be refiled. Our follow-up investigation will remain active and ongoing." So there's a chance that he may face charges down the line if new evidence surfaces. But in the meantime, Baldwin is safe from criminal charges, with the spotlight now on Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer on the set of Rust at the time of the shooting. It was her job to make sure the prop guns were handled safely and without any live ammunition. She still faces 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. As for her counter-argument, Gutierrez-Reed maintains that it's actually the weapon supplier's fault, that his company mixed live rounds in with dummy rounds on accident. The weapon supplier, of course, saying,
"No, I didn't do that. It's her fault."
So really, it's one giant game of passing the blame. And at the end of the day, it feels like we're all losing focus on what we should really be doing here. And that is seeking justice for a woman who lost her life. And maybe this runaround of trying to find a fall guy for criminal charges is doing more harm than good. I mean, look at what's happened so far. Alec Baldwin has already settled with Helena Hutchins' husband in civil court, and assistant director David Hall's already pled guilty to unsafe handling of a firearm and was sentenced to 6 months probation. That required him to take gun safety training and pay fines. Honestly, this sort of stuff may be the best way we can find justice in this situation. Make everyone involved learn how to never let it happen again, and then civil suits can help the family receive financial compensation. As tragic as Helena's death is, it really doesn't seem like anyone involved ever intended for it to happen. I don't know how helpful it is to throw someone in prison over an accident of this nature when the other things I mentioned actually provide tangible reparations. It just seems like a better focus area than this wild goose hunt for the guy to blame. But you tell me, maybe you think someone does need to accept the blame for all this, and that's justice to you. I'd love to know your comments below. In any case, despite the ongoing lawsuits and investigations, the production of Rust is back on. Yes, they are really still making this movie after all that, which I'll just let you share your thoughts on that below. In music news, are musicians out of jobs thanks to AI? Not if lawyers have anything to say about it. Last week, a new song by Drake and The Weeknd was released. Or so we thought, because it turns out allegedly the song was generated by using AI. The record label shut it down almost immediately, but this opens up a huge can of worms when it comes to fair use, so let's break it down. Copyrights usually protect things like art, songs, photographs, things like that. However, sometimes usage of copyrighted material is permissible in instances of education, commentary, or parody, and when it's transformative, meaning the new work significantly changed the nature of the copyrighted work. What we don't have is much precedent for if you can use copyrighted material as training data for AI. On one hand, the output is categorically different from the copyrighted material. It's not an exact copy and could be considered transformative. But on the other hand, the copyright holders should be able to have a say if their art is being used to train AI. For instance, you can't just take a recording of someone's voice and put it in a song. That's a violation of their right to publicity. So shouldn't AI trained on recordings get the same protection? Plus, transformative nature is not the only thing courts take into consideration when determining fair use. Multiple lawsuits are being filed on the use of copyrighted material and training data, and you can get updates on all those lawsuits here, so remember to like and subscribe. In movie news, more women come forward accusing Jonathan Majors of abusive behavior. This comes only a few weeks after his New York arrest on March 25th on misdemeanor charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment in a domestic dispute with his girlfriend. I do have to say that these are accusations and Majors has yet to be convicted of anything. But just in case, Marvel is probably already searching the multiverse for a new Kang variant, considering they base their entire next phase on his character. But that shouldn't really be a problem for them. In finance news, Tom Brady, Larry David, Steph Curry, and Shaquille O'Neal are among the 11 celebrities named in the $5 billion lawsuit filed by investors of FTX. They're being sued on the grounds of false representation and deceptive conduct. Now, I'm no finance bro, but I know the law, so let's try to break this down. FTX was one of the largest digital currency exchange platforms for buying and selling cryptocurrencies, but it was recently revealed that it was basically one big Ponzi scheme. At the core of this lawsuit are these yield-bearing accounts FTX offered, which the lawsuit claims are unregistered securities. If that's the case, they would need to be registered with the SEC, which they're not, and would also mean the celebrities would have a higher standard of care when endorsing the product, and would have more financial disclosure requirements, which they did not. Now the celebrities are arguing it wasn't the yield-bearing accounts they were endorsing, but rather just crypto in general. Basically, I told you to shop at Target, but I never told you to sign up for the Target credit card. We'll see how that argument plays out in court. Potentially not great, considering it turns out allegedly none of the celebrities really asked any questions and were fine just taking a paycheck. Everyone except one person, Taylor Swift. Apparently Taylor Swift just asked, "Are these unregistered securities?" and didn't like their answer. This story combined with the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster takedown a few weeks back, I might have to add Midnights to my Spotify. Justice. Taylor's version. The most interesting thing about this case is the implications it could have down the line. Celebrities could very well become more responsible for the products they endorse. Could you imagine if it was Kendall Jenner's fault that Pepsi didn't end police brutality? Maybe that's not the best example, but you get the point. And now on to our last story. The courtroom fiasco that has been this Young Thug YSL RICO case. YSL being Young Thug's record label that prosecutors allege is actually a criminal organization he founded. Thugger and a whole slew of associates got hit with RICO charges, which means instead of charging people for individual crimes, you go after the whole gang. You know how mafia bosses might not kill someone themselves, but they'll order the hit? Well, because of stuff like that, RICO lets you put the whole organization on trial.
How do the defendants plead?
And that's precisely why Young Thug and YSL are in the hot seat, with accusations like murder and other violent acts. But let's just talk about all the crazy that's happened so far. Number 1, the prosecution is trying to use rap lyrics as partial evidence to bolster their claims. 2, an alleged drug deal took place in the courtroom where a co-defendant maybe slipped Young Thug a Percocet. 3, a YSL defense lawyer told the judge, and I quote,
"It's cap, to be honest."
Most recently, the courtroom erupted in chaos. Everyone had to be evacuated and 3 people were handcuffed. And finally, one of the defense lawyers was recently charged with battery after an altercation with one of the law enforcement officers at the courthouse. Now, the battery charges have been dismissed, but he's still being charged with disrupting the courtroom and possession of pills not in their original container. In all my years as a lawyer, this might be one of the craziest courtroom proceedings I've ever heard of. And if Jordan Peele doesn't turn this into an insightful courtroom dramedy, I'm gonna be pissed. Also, he should cast me in it. You know, I'm available. For Pop Law, I'm Law by Mike. Thank you for watching, and check out more of my videos here. Court adjourned.